Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the first go-to training session for digital literacy. My name is Justin Hardy. I am an instructor for digital literacy, and I am also joined tonight by Jeremiah Moore, who is also an instructor for digital literacy. So here's how this is going to work for us. Well, I'm going to be doing all of the lecturing out loud and covering the material in these slides, and Jeremiah is going to be assisting me in the chat box. So as I am working through the material, I don't want you guys to think that I'm ignoring you or not seeing your questions. I am watching the chat box, but if I'm in the middle of explaining something, it wouldn't be very helpful for me to kind of have a little tangent and maybe forget my place. So if you do have questions as I'm speaking and I'm not able to get to you right away, just look for Jeremiah. If I don't get to your question, he will, and just let us know if you have any concerns as we're working through the material tonight. So here are some of the items under our agenda tonight. We're going to talk about go-to training sessions as a whole. We're going to talk about digital literacy as a concept, some tips for succeeding in digital literacy, and your week one discussion post. That's going to be the first half of our time here tonight. And then the second half is going to deal more with your assignment and then some of the expectations for how you're going to turn that in. So first things first, if you're not familiar with the go-to training environment, it is a little daunting at first. There are a lot of moving parts, but it's not too difficult to figure out once you start playing with it. So there are a couple of different controls that you have available to you. You can mute your microphone like I'm doing for a couple of you. You can also raise your hand. So if you have a question and I see that, I'm going to be able to answer that question in a timely manner. So, like as you can see there, my hand's raised and now it's put back down. So if you have any questions, just press that little hand raise button right there and you will be good to go. And you can either enter your question in the chat box or you can unmute yourself and speak out loud. So whichever works for you. Also, there is a way to filter your chat. So you can say that, see here that you can chat to everyone in your entire audience, or you can chat to your individual instructor. So that's going to be our organizer. So that's going to be Jeremiah and myself. So if you have a question that you just want to ask us specifically, you can change your settings in your chat filter from the entire audience to organizers only, and you'll just be speaking to your instructors instead. Okay, so that's the go-to interface in a nutshell. Now, what is digital literacy? I'd like you guys to, in your own words, describe digital literacy or what you think it is. Now, there's no right or wrong answer to this question, so I just want to see what some of your thoughts are. So if you could enter that in the chat box, that would be fantastic. I want to give you guys a few minutes to think about that. So just give me some. Okay, so Moses is saying that it's the ability to use digital media to influence society. That is a very good definition. Kevin is saying that knowledge on how to use the internet, social media, and etc. Absolutely, that's another aspect of it. William is saying understanding the digital world and devices. These are all three of these are actually really good definitions for digital literacy, and they all fall under the umbrella of digital literacy. So thank you very much. So if you guys have what they said, absolutely, Carmen, they very succinctly knocked it down for us. So if you guys have any additional comments you want to make, go ahead and throw those in the chat box. But these three comments by Kevin, Moses, and William really distilled it down to the fundamentals. So digital literacy, in addition to what our three guys have said, is knowing and learning your software. Clint says understanding your online presence. Absolutely. Becoming internet savvy, having knowledge of how to use your internet tools in a clever way to get the information you're really looking for. That is a really good one. There we go. So, conducting proper research is another aspect of digital literacy. Being able to use Google, being able to use proprietary search engines such as school databases or work databases in order to find the information that you're looking for so you can achieve your goals. All right, so think about communication practices as well. So think about how we connect on the web. We've got Twitter, we've got Facebook, we've got IMs, texting, you name it. There's a communication option for it in the 21st century. So making sure that we conduct ourselves politely, professionally, and positively online and constructively online is really, really important. And that also kind of ties into creating a professional online presence. And that's going to tie into something called personal branding that we're going to talk about a little bit later. But that those two tie in together. So what we like you to do, just to kind of set some bars for success for your classes here at Los Angeles Film, is first of all, just check your email at least twice a day. You want to keep your emails professional when you respond to us, of course, and we do want you to be proactive with checking it because that is our a primary means of communicating with you. So if we send you a message, 9 times out of 10, that message is going to get kicked to your email to let you know that we sent you something. So always check that, and that's going to be your Los Angeles Film School email. Just make sure that you check that at least twice a day, just to make sure that you're not getting any correspondence from us or any correspondence from, say, your student advisor about some information that you might need to provide. It's always good to keep that lifeline open. So, instructor comments from myself and instructor comments from Jeremiah on your discussions and assignments are to help you succeed in the course. We're not just trying to take points off just because we want to see your low score. That's not what we're here for. We're not here to fail you. We want to see you succeed. So if you have any questions as you're working on your assignment or as you're working on your discussion, please let us know. You can call us, you can email us, you can send us messages, whatever your preferred communication method is. You can get a hold of us. We're more than happy to help you out. Also, if you're having any technical issues with either the online platform or say a video doesn't work or you can't get a PDF to open or you're not able to submit your work, make sure that you contact online support for any technical issues. And you can check the how to get support activity under getting started, and that will give you the information you need to get in touch with the proper people so that they can get you back where you need to be in terms of having either your computer working or having your just your situation taken care of. Also, be sure to read all instruction PDFs and rubrics. All initial discussion posts are due Wednesday night at 11:59 Pacific time. I'm going to repeat that one more time. All of your initial discussion posts, the very first discussion post that you post for the week is going to be due at 11:59 Pacific time Wednesday night. And your responses are due on Sunday of each week. So your initial post is due Wednesday, and your response post to another classmate is going to be due Sunday at the same time, 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. So we'd like you to try to visit the discussion boards every day and keep your posts and responses constructive. Now, sometimes there might not be anyone to respond to, and you've kind of talked to all the people that you're interested in talking to, but still, we do recommend that you go in and just read all the new posts that are posted in because someone might have an idea or might come up with a point that you didn't necessarily think about. So that's a great starting point for a discussion or a dialogue that you can create with one of your classmates. Think of the networking opportunities from these discussion posts. Also, here's a preview of the rubric for your first discussion post. So this lets you know how we break down the scoring criteria when we're assessing and giving you feedback. So we're not just taking points arbitrarily. There's a reason for all the points that we may take away, depending on whether your work falls in this exceptional column, the proficient column, needs improvement, or not college level. So if you're ever concerned about where your work falls in terms of the quality scale, make sure that you consult the rubric and check out the exceptional column here on the very first on the left, just to see where we're looking for your work to fall in terms of fulfilling all of the requirements. Okay, here are some tips on succeeding in digital literacy. It's always really helpful to start your assignments and research early. So we like you to look for the FAQs under the class resources page, and that's going to give you a couple of hints about how to stay on top of things. And if you have any questions on how to compress your documents or anything like that, that's going to be where you can find that information. And as you're working, don't be afraid to ask any questions. So here's our late policy. So late assignments may be submitted up to 3 days late unless there's an emergency. So that's going to count on you guys communicating with us and letting us know that
No, that's
you have any sort of problems.
So is that your class?
yes.
Oh.
So each day late is 10% off the maximum score possible. So if you submit your work on a Monday, that's going to be 10 points off. If it's a Tuesday, that's 20%. And if it's a Wednesday, that's going to be 30%. And I see, Jennifer, you have your hand up. So if you want to relay your question out loud, you can, or you can just enter that in the chat box. Which would you prefer? I see, Moses, you have a question too. Oh, okay, you're cool. You're good, Jennifer? Okay, cool. No problem. And Moses, I see your question. While we're on the subject, how can we look up our grades? There should be a grades tab near the top of the page on the student side. I don't have access to that right now, so I can't show it to you physically, but there should be a tab that has where your grades are located. No problem, no problem. Okay, so let's move on a little bit. So we'd like you to keep a positive attitude and an open mind during your time in digital literacy. Sometimes some students might say that this information is a little basic or it's very fundamental, but it's always good to have a good starting point and a good foundation for your future classes. So if you have any questions about the content of the course or the material, or if you have any questions about how to complete an assignment or maybe how to tackle a discussion post topic, just send us an email or write us a message or give us a call. And Gina, the next module, the next week will unlock next Monday morning. So week two's content is going to open Monday morning. So everything is due Sunday night at 11:59 Pacific time, and then Monday morning, all of your next week stuff unlocks, and then you can go ahead and take your time in completing that. Okay, let's move on. So the knowledge check quizzes are also due on Sunday. So there are three things that due every single Sunday. So you've got your initial discussion post due Wednesday, your response is due Sunday, your assignment is also due Sunday, and then you've got the knowledge check quiz also due Sunday. So you've got a lot of things due at the same time. So it's also really helpful to kind of use time management skills and pace yourself. So keep in mind the read and view activities are good reference points when you're working on the knowledge check quiz. It is open book, so we're not going to have you kind of memorize all this information and then try to answer these questions. You can use the read and view activity and any other resources that you'd like in order to assist you in answering these questions. Keep in mind that you can only take it once. I'll repeat that. You can only take the knowledge check quizzes once. So keep in mind that it is open book, but once you're done with it and you hit submit and you maybe didn't answer a question or you didn't double check and there's something you didn't answer properly, that there's not much I can do for you. There's not much that Jeremiah can do for you. So keep that in mind. And that is due Sunday night at 11:59 Pacific time. So you have a lot to do on Sunday. So definitely pace yourself. Try to get your discussion posted on or a little bit early. Maybe get your assignment in a little bit early, and then maybe you'll have that little bit of time at the end of the week to take care of your quiz. Okay, Clint, just repeat what we said earlier. Your discussion post is going to be your initial post is going to be done, completed on Wednesday night at 11:59 Pacific time, and your response post is due Sunday night at 11:59 Pacific time. So there's two parts to it, and that's going to be to one or two or more of your classmates. So you're not necessarily limited to just one response. If there's multiple people that you want to engage a discussion with, you do have that option. So the training sessions, the one you're in right now, they're once a week. They're Tuesday nights at 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time if you're on the East Coast. And if you can't make it to the live session, don't worry about that. What I do is I upload the live session to YouTube, and then I post a link as an announcement and under the GoTo Training sign up page. So you'll have multiple places in order to find this. So there's also a tab under the Getting Started called the GoTo Training and Recordings. That's also where it's going to be posted. So there's going to be three areas where you can find the GoTo Training archive. And those are going to be posted every morning, the morning after. So since we're meeting Tuesday nights, they're going to be posted Wednesday morning. Okay, here's an article about online student success. I thought you guys might enjoy this. We're going to go over a couple of the different topics. Oh, excuse me. There we go. So this article is just if you're not familiar or if this is the first online class that you've ever taken, first of all, pat yourself on the back. You're making a really important step in your journey of achieving your dreams, whether you want to be a music producer or a filmmaker or a graphic artist. You're taking the first step, and you guys should really be proud of yourselves. Now that you're here are a couple of steps that you might want to take to kind of ensure your continued success through both digital literacy and the courses that come in the future. So there are a couple of different topics covered in this particular article. There's one about time management. There's one about balancing your personal obligations. There's another about study environment, and then some questions about how to ask questions of your instructors, and a couple of different topics in addition to. But this first one I want to cover in detail, and then the other ones I'm going to leave you guys to read on your own because we do have a lot of material to get through. Time management. So time management may be the biggest factor in succeeding in your online courses. So successful online students have to be very proactive in their studies and take responsibility for their own learning. So you guys have to understand how to use your time properly, how to get your discussion post on time, and then give yourself enough time to study and maybe work on the assignment and then do your quiz right after, or however you want to organize it. It's going to be important that you find a rhythm that you can kind of dip into so that you can complete your work on time. And if you have any questions, you have enough room to breathe to be able to adjust your work a little bit to make up for any sort of deficiencies based on the answers to those questions that your instructors give. So to master time management, you want to determine the time of day that you think you'll be most focused on your studies, whether it's in the morning or the afternoon or after work, after dinner, after you put the kids to sleep, whatever it happens to be. Are you a morning person? Are you a night owl? Do you concentrate best after a cup of coffee or after lunch? So once you narrow down a time of day, you want to reserve or designate allotment of time dedicated to your coursework. Whether it's an hour a day or 2 hours a day or 30 minutes, just set that time aside whenever you can and just focus on your coursework. And I promise you, you're never going to run into any issues, at least in our course, with running out of time. But that's going to depend on the course load in your future courses as well. So keep that in mind. Now, the rest of the article is really, really wonderful, so we do recommend that you take a look at it. But I'm going to go ahead and move ahead so that we can focus on the discussion post. Before we do that, here's one more resource for you guys. Your student advisors. Now, these guys are your lifeline for everything unrelated to digital literacy as a class. They can help out with anything related to your LA Film School concerns. And it's not just assistance with digital literacy. They can help you with the course, of course. But anything else related to your LA Film School experience, they can handle that as well. And of course, we mentioned earlier, online support can help out with any issues specifically for the LMS, such as submission issues, say your documents won't upload, or your compressed file won't upload, or you can't view a video, whatever the problem may be. Online support can definitely assess and assist in your issue. Moses, online support and student advisors aren't, they're not, how do I want to answer this? They're not going to be able to help with that specific part of your degree program. We do have career development resources for that you can use. But you can ask your student advisor about where to find those resources for sure. Does that answer your question? Cool. Okay, thank you. So, as you're working and say you do have any technical issues, make sure that you email us or give us a call letting us know that, say, your laptop is on fire or you lost your file or whatever the case may be. Whatever your issue is, if you have to contact online support, make sure that you contact Jeremiah, make sure that you contact me, just letting us know that there's an issue so we can take that into account when we provide you an extension or some sort of um, exception for your work. Another thing, just keep a positive and open mind. We do want you to have fun with this content. We're not looking to be super serious about um, the material we cover in this class. We do want to have an open dialogue. We want you guys to communicate, stay positive, and constructive with your feedback and your discussions with your classmates. And just to reiterate, Jeremiah's not here to fail you. I'm not here to fail you. We want to see you succeed. We want to see you get to the end of the finish line and get your degree and then move on to have that career that you're here for. So we're here for that reason as well. So if you have any issues at all, please let us know. Let your student advisors know. As long as you keep that line of communication open, you're going to be in a good state. And of course, contact support for any technical issues you encounter. So that's the basic overview of the course, just some um, information to help you sort of acclimate and get used to this learning environment. Now, the next thing we're going to discuss is the 1.3 discussion itself. And then from there, we're going to talk about personal branding and then how that relates to the assignment. Okay, so here is the instruction sheet for the first discussion post that you guys are going to complete. Now, just to reiterate, this is going to be due at 11:59 Pacific time, Wednesday night. Sorry about that. Just took a drink of water. Wednesday night, 11:59 Pacific time. And here are some of the topics that you guys are going to cover. So you still have another night to kind of think about and compose your initial post. So here are some of the topics available to you. Now, we're not asking you to answer all of these, but just take maybe 2 or 3 and this answer those. So here are the ones available. So is there anything that you're already doing to establish your digital footprint or online identity? What are the goals that have driven you to begin your degree program? How important is it for you to graduate from this degree program and why? How will you stay motivated during weeks that you're very busy, have heavy work or family demands, or don't feel too well at all? Your next one is, do you have any industry experience or prior industry experience? And if so, we'd like you to tell us about it. You never know who you might network with. And the next one is, how do you learn best? What are your greatest challenges with learning, if any, and what strategies do you utilize to overcome any challenges that you have? Your next topic is, what do you think will be the hardest part of completing your degree, and how do you plan to overcome these challenges, and what's your plan, and why is it important that you overcome these challenges? And the last topic available is, what are some of the things that you'd like to know about your classmates? So, of these topics, pick 2 or 3 and give us a paragraph or 2 just explaining like some of your thoughts on these topics. So again, Wednesday night at 11:59 Pacific time is when your initial post is due, and then your second post, which is a response post to one of your classmates, is going to be due Sunday at the same time. Okay, Moses. So if you answered all of them, that's fantastic. Great. You gave someone a book to read, which is not a problem. That's just going to give them more information about you. Great. But if you're not interested in answering every single topic, by all means, you don't have to, but 2 or 3 is what we're looking for. Okay, so here's the rubric again for what we're using to assess your discussion post, both your initial post and your response post. So we'd like everything to kind of fall in this exceptional column here where your topic is understood, in depth, and convincingly addressed. All of your ideas flow logically. You engaged your classmates and you wrote in complete sentences and used proper grammar and punctuation and all those good things. So if you have any sort of concerns or questions about, I don't know where my work is falling, I don't know how my discussion post is looking compared to everyone else's, just come in here and check out the rubric and just kind of use it as a checklist as you're typing so you hit all those marks that we're looking for. Okay, so here are a couple of frequently asked questions. I'm just going to go ahead and address these before we move forward. So the instructions say the first post is due Wednesday, but the closing date of the discussion is not until Sunday night. Why are there two deadlines for the same discussion? We get this question a lot, and a lot of students are concerned that they're turning their work in a little late, where that's not necessarily the case. So the discussion boards are an interactive sort of conversation where you're talking back and forth, but we keep in mind that everyone's busy. Everyone has a life, whether you're going to work, or you're looking after your kids, or you're going to school like you are now. We all have different kind of paces in our lives, so this allows us to kind of post our message, get a response when we're able to, and kind of go back and forth in that way where everyone is able to have a conversation at their own pace. So we want your initial post to be due Wednesday to give your classmates enough time to get through their day, their week, whatever it happens to be, so they have the time to sit down and read your initial post so that they can then respond. So they have from Wednesday until Sunday to get their response post in. So that gives them the time to kind of read and digest the information that they're seeing so that they can formulate a constructive response. Likewise, this will give you sufficient time to read and respond to your classmates' posts during the week when you're busy. So this works both ways, and that's why there's two due days. So what if you submit your first post after the Wednesday night first post deadline? So late initial posts may be subject to a point deduction. Always contact your instructor to discuss specific information related to deadlines and exceptions. So if you're just really concerned that you're not able to get your discussion posted on time or getting your assignment in on time, just shoot us a message or shoot us a voicemail or send us an email, just letting us know, letting Jeremiah know, letting me know that this is an issue that you're dealing with, and we can work with you. So just let us know, and we can take care of any issues that might pop up, as long as you keep that line of communication open. Okay, so that's the discussion post. Are there any questions? Okay, Xavier, what your initial post is going to be due Wednesday, and Sunday at 11:59 Pacific time PM is going to be when your response post is due. So Clint is asking, when we leave a reply post, is it in response to our classmates post or our initial post? It's going to be in response to your classmates post, and then your initial post is going to have responses from other people underneath it. So you're always going to respond to another person. You're not going to reply to yourself as a response. That's a really good question, Clint. You're welcome. Go ahead and take a drink of water here, and then we will move on. I'm glad everyone's so excited about this material and about learning and interacting. It's really, really encouraging. Okay, William, the rubric and the instruction PDF are going to be within the same package. So when you're on your page, when you're on the digital literacy page, you can go to assignment 1.3, or rather activity 1.3, or activity 1.4, and the instruction PDF is going to have the rubric somewhere near the bottom of the PDF. So it's either going to be the second to last page or the last page is where that information is available. Absolutely. Okay, everyone. So we're going to move on to personal branding and then talking about how the assignment ties into that. And of course, if you're still formulating a question for the discussion, I'm not ignoring you. Just go ahead and enter that in the chat box, and Jeremiah will answer that as soon as he sees it, or I'll answer it if I see it. So let's go ahead and move on. We still got quite a bit of material to get through, and we're about halfway through. So here's the agenda for personal branding. We're going to talk about personal branding as a concept, the myths of personal branding, some of the laws concerning personal branding, and personal branding processes. Now, this is a really dense, huge, comprehensive topic. We're just going to hit the very basics. We want you to just start thinking about your online identity and the websites you visit and the social media environments that you engage in order to kind of think about the profile and evidence and footprint that you're leaving behind on the web about your just more or less your online reputation. So just keeping some of this information in mind as you're working forward and creating your online professional persona, it's just going to be helpful to create a really good base, a really good foundation with good habits. So I want to put the question to you guys once again. What is personal branding? In your own words, there's no right or wrong sort of answer here. We just want to get an idea of where you guys are coming from. When you hear or think about personal branding, what comes to mind? Clint says the image that you portray of yourself online. That is absolutely correct. William is saying the way you and your company is viewed online. Yes. Gina says it's about her image. Absolutely. Moses is saying that it's a logo or data that represents your reputation. That absolutely can be the case. John is saying how you market yourself online. Kevin is saying it's your social personality. Kendrick is saying it's your individual persona. And Jennifer is saying that it's the way you present yourself online and in person. You guys are nailing it. All of these answers are correct. Carmen is saying it's how you promote yourself and how you put yourself out there to other people. Yes, you guys have a fantastic understanding of what personal branding is. So that's super helpful. So she ran for office and was all the above and things. Yeah, absolutely. So again, a lot of the points that you guys made are reiterated right here on the slide. It's how you would be described professionally and personally. Personal branding, by definition, is the process by which we market ourselves to others. Todd, yes, it is very similar to the digital footprint. Think about how you want to portray yourself online professionally in person and translate that same identity to the internet. So, just like when you're going to a business meeting or a job interview or some other affair that's a professional environment, think about how you're going to dress. It's probably going to be business casual, or you're going to put a suit and tie on. You're going to put your nice shoes on. You're going to put your nice watch on. You're going to go in there and look professional and speak professionally and have a professional demeanor because you want to put that image forward. You want people to think of that when they think of your reputation. Translate all of that effort that you would put in person to the digital realm, and you're going to be right as rain. So, as a brand, as a personal brand, we can use the same strategies that make celebrities or corporate brands appeal to various audiences. So, think of yourself as your own PR, public relations representative, and you're representing yourself and your own personal brand. Just like Nike, Ferrari, Honda, Steven Spielberg, and Mark Zuckerberg all have public relations representatives, that's what you're going to have for yourself. So, you also want to think about how brands represent themselves in terms of the audience that they're trying to capture. If you say Nike and Adidas, you're going to get two very different attitudes when it comes to footwear. Now, Nike is very sport oriented, and Adidas is also very sport oriented. But think about the cultures that surround Nike. Like it's very serious about sports. It's very oriented into the science of sports, the passion of sports, the emphasis on the focus of the athletes and how it takes them an enormous amount of practice and training and so on in order to achieve their goal. Whereas Adidas might have a completely different sort of marketing for their brand. Another really good example is, say, Honda cars and vehicles versus Ferraris. Now, both Hondas and Ferraris are brands of cars. They both get you from point A to point B. All cars can do this. But Honda is targeting a very specific type of audience, people who want affordability, reliability, people who want a car that won't break down very often and only needs maintenance every so often. Whereas a Ferrari is very expensive to maintain, very delicate, and so on. So if you're looking for a high-end sports car and you can afford it and you've got the ability to take care of it, you're going to maybe want a Ferrari. But if you're looking for an economy vehicle or something that you want to keep that has really good gas mileage, for another example, you're probably going to want to go for a Honda. Both cars, very different audiences for those cars. And then think about Steven Spielberg versus, say, Zack Snyder as a film director. They both have very different brands for their film styles. Whereas Zack Snyder is a very action-oriented director, Steven Spielberg focuses more on the individual emotions or the relationships of the characters. So there's very different sort of filming styles that you can see throughout their work. So just like these are individual brands for corporations and companies, individuals can have their brand or style that you can see throughout their work. It's not necessarily just a logo or just a slogan. It can just be necessary, like a series of creative habits that you see throughout their work. That could be their personal brand. So the first myth about personal branding is it's about image management. Not necessarily. Your image is going to be your outside or your external appearance, how you dress, how you carry yourself, how you walk, how you talk. Your personal brand is going to be inside. It's your internal attitude and your values. Think about what sort of things that you would endorse. If you were able to endorse, say, Nike shoes, would that be something that you would be comfortable with? If you were, say, to endorse BP, the oil company, would that be something that you would want tied to your reputation, as an example? So keep in mind that your internal attitude, the values that you hold dear, your personal values, that's where your brand is going to come from, because those values are going to inform your professional demeanor and your professional attitude and your professional values. So you want to be honest about how you market yourself and what you can do. Tell people what you can do, how good you are at it, and let that be where it stays. You don't want to elaborate or overextend the description of what you're capable of, because people will call you on it and ask you to perform at that level. And if you're not able to, that can potentially damage your reputation. The second myth is that personal branding is about getting a job. It certainly helps, but is not the means to an end to getting a job. Personal branding isn't just about where you want to work or getting the job. It's a balance between your professional goals and your personal values. So, what do you value professionally? What do you value personally? And what do you believe in? And how are you going to meld those together? Sean, not like United Airlines. We want to be the exact opposite of United Airlines, but that's another discussion. That's another discussion. So, just to touch on that, that is a very good example of how your personal brand or your brand in general can be affected by the actions of others. So be very mindful of that as well. It doesn't extend just to where you go on the internet or where you go on Twitter. It can affect corporations as well in a negative way. So that's a lesson to be learned as well. So here are a couple of laws about personal branding that we'd like you to keep in mind just as you're working and developing your own personal brand. Authenticity is something that you want to hold near and dear. It's really important that you define your personal brand before someone else does it for you. So if you're a filmmaker or you're a 3D modeler or you're a video game developer and that's what you want to be, great. But if that's a skill set that's maybe secondary or third, but that's all people know you for, they're going to put you in that box of game developer or filmmaker when that's not necessarily your focus. So it's important for you to define your brand, define your acumen and expertise so that people can't put you in that box. You're the one who builds the box. Also, consider transparency. It's better to be straightforward and honest with your abilities and brand. So, a lot of you may be beginners. You're still kind of determining what you want your professional sort of focus to be. And that's okay. As long as you're developing that and you're transparent about developing that, people are going to respect that and they're going to understand where you're coming from and they're going to have that expectation of you're honestly kind of reflecting your quality level. So if you're still at the student level, let people know. If you're at a professional level, of course, let people know. If you're in the middle and you're still developing, but you've got some good examples, let people know. Let them be the final determiner. Just be honest with your abilities and that's really the best you can do. So the next one is visibility. Now, this one's really, really important. In today's social media age, if you're not known, you don't exist. So if you don't put yourself out there, people aren't going to be able to find you because search engines aren't going to pop up with your name. So if you have a Facebook, if you've got a Twitter, if you've got a Pinterest, if you've got Instagram, and you don't use them and you don't put your work out there, then people aren't going to come to you. They're not going to be able to ask you to work for them because there's no way for them to find out who you are. You're a ghost. So you've got to definitely put your work out there and let people know where you are so that they can find you and perhaps engage in a networking opportunity and a job opportunity. You never know. Just like with a business angel, it's a networking opportunity and you just cast out a net and whatever you catch, that's what you can work with. And it's just going to develop from there as you define who you are as a professional in person. That's going to grow. So the person who you are right now and the digital footprint you have right now at the very beginning of the course is going to be a little bit different than when you're at the very end of the finish line. So it's going to be a process. So you want to discover what you're good at. You want to create things based on what you're good at. You want to communicate with the world that you're making this thing, whatever it is, and you want to start all over again. Maintain that. So it's all about creating and communicating. So create content. Shoot your short films, shoot your commercials, design your graphics and your logos for fake corporations if you have to. Write your music, produce your beats, and put it on the web and see what people say about it. Get your feedback, network with people that are interested in the same things that you are. Say someone likes your sound, they like your video. Great, that's a networking opportunity. Make more stuff, put it out there, and just keep the process going, and your reputation is going to build itself. And that's going to give you a personal brand that's enduring. And Jermaine, how to market yourself online. There's a lot of resources online. We just recommend you use a research like Google or whatever other search engine you like, and just look at some articles. The read and view activity also has a couple of different places for you to check that out as well. So I'm going to move past this because we are running a little short on time, but I did want to hit this point. So if you are maintaining your personal brand or you're starting one, you want to check your social networking sites often just to make sure that your information's out there, people know you, and they're able to interact with you. So also, 80 million names are run through Google's search engine every day. Your name might be one of them, and employers are using it to kind of vet people's digital footprint before they maybe hire them. 70 to 90% of our employers are using social networks for just checking up on how maybe a potential hire might be online in terms of their reputation, the sites they visit, and how they represent themselves. You got to be very mindful that employers are now doing this. And what do you want people to find about you? So be very mindful when if you're just starting out with your digital footprint, great. There's a ton of resources for you to kind of get that foundation going. But if you've already got one and you might want to start tailoring it a little bit, you can take some of these steps to kind of move in that direction. Oh Lord, Gina, that's a little too much. So you got to go to the top of the list so that they find you first. So are there any questions about personal branding before we move into the assignment? Because we are coming to the very end. Now, Gina, that's going to come with time. So you start your own Twitter, you start your own Facebook page, professional Facebook page, you have your own website, and eventually as you post more content and people are engaging with you more, you climb those social media ranks and people will see your results before they see any of those other ones that you ran into. So it's just a matter of maintaining your presence online and cultivating it over time. I guess so. I guess so. Well, there's no time like the present. I think you can catch up. Okay, so we're going to move to the assignment overview, the instructions, and then just go over some basic due dates for everything before we leave tonight. Okay, so here is the first assignment that we guys have for you that's going to be due Sunday night. So this is separate from the discussion. Your discussion is due Wednesday night, initial post. Your response post is due by Sunday, but not necessarily on Sunday. Your first assignment is due on Sunday, but if you turn it in early, that's acceptable too. So what we're going to have you do is conduct research using the internet. We're going to have you analyzing a digital footprint of an industry professional. And by industry professional, we mean someone who is in a production role. So think about people who are famous for being famous. I'm not going to name any names. I'm sure some people have come to mind when you think about famous for being famous. Those are not the individuals that we want you to cover. Think about directors, actors, music producers, filmmakers. Yeah, Kevin, that could be an example. Think about people who are actively working in the field to produce a product. Those are the people that you want to focus on. Does the industry professional have to be alive? That's not necessary. Jennifer. They don't have to be alive. They just have to have a significant digital footprint. So if they died, say, 50 or 60 years ago, it might be tough to find a digital footprint for that person, where if someone passed recently, they might have more information available for them online. We also want you to evaluate the strengths and weaknesses of their digital footprint. So is their digital footprint positive? Is it negative? Is it controversial? Is it something that doesn't arouse too much buzz? What kind of digital footprint do they have? And then we want you to kind of summarize this information using a variety of digital technologies. So yes, Jennifer, John Lennon, if that's who I assume you're talking about, that's acceptable because there's a lot of information available about him online. So a digital footprint or digital dossier is a data trail of information about an individual. We all have them. So if you've got a Twitter, if you've got a Facebook, an Instagram, whatever it is, you've got a digital footprint. If you've ever posted on an internet forum, you've got a digital footprint. If you've ever used the internet, period, you've got a digital footprint. So this is something that no one can avoid. So your detective assignment is to investigate the digital footprint of a selected entertainment industry professional of your choice, and we want you to report your findings and draw conclusions based on the information you've gathered. So you can use your industry professionals' Facebook, their Instagram, their Twitter page, anything that you find on Google or your favorite search engine of choice. That's going to be part of their digital footprint that you can use in your report. So here's what we want you to prepare. Kevin, if you're established, that's great. We do want you to find another industry professional. I don't think we've got that question before, but I do want to err on the side of caution and just find someone else for the time being. But that's great that you are established. I would definitely use some of that content in your initial discussion post. Okay, so here's how we want you to prepare, and this is what we want you to do first. Select an industry entertainment professional in your chosen field who you are interested in learning more about, or someone whose career success that you'd like to emulate or imitate. Think about business professionals in the film, television, music, gaming, or any other industry that you're interested in or a part of. Now, we want you to avoid selecting a celebrity who's primarily famous as a star rather than as a business person. So think about Will Smith. He is both a movie producer and an actor. But if he's just an actor, maybe that's not someone that you want to pick. So think about someone who's in the business of the industry rather than someone who's just a performer or someone who's famous for being famous. Sean, I'm not familiar with who that is, but if he's involved in the industry in some business capacity, like say singer, songwriter, music producer, that would be great. Babyface Evans is a fantastic example of an industry professional. Oh, if he was in music with Will Smith, absolutely. And Moses, yes, this information will be available. So again, if you have any questions, you can see the FAQ section for more information about where to find informational entertainment industry business professionals. Or if you have any questions as you're working and you're not sure and it's not answered in the instruction document, ask Jeremiah, ask myself, just send us an email or shoot us a call, and we'll be more than happy to answer any questions you might have. So we want you to conduct a web search, such as a Google search, of this person's digital footprint. So you can also use Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, all the ones that I've been saying so far. Tumblr, if they're available there. Think about other social network connections, blog posts, websites, video, and this includes YouTube, Vimeo, Vine, whatever else is available that has information or content about your industry professional, and any other image or audio uploads. Dr. Dre is a fantastic point. A fantastic industry professional to use. So we would like you to collect screen captures, links, or other documentation of the digital footprint trail of your selected industry professional. So you can take screenshots, you can give links, you can cite websites, anything that you want to include to provide research for any sort of information that you include about this industry professional. So we want you to report your findings of your investigation. So these are the things that we want you to include in paragraph form. So a couple of paragraphs including this information, along with any resources that you want to include as well. So how does this person's digital footprint represent them as an industry business professional? That's one question that you can answer. Is the image presented positive or negative for their career personal brand? So we kind of want you to look for both. Xavier, your paper can be about half a page or a full page in length. There's no definite length requirement, but just a couple of paragraphs. As long as you're able to answer all these questions completely, that's as long as your assignment should be. Also, we want you to think about what might a potential hiring manager or business partner be impressed with, and what might cause someone to discount this person as a potential business partner. We want you to explain your findings as well. So if you think people would want to work with this person, why or why not? And if people might avoid this person as a business partner, we also want you to kind of discuss why you might have that reasoning as well. Also, Moses, the only citations you need to include are just links, URL links. We're not looking for MLA or APA citations, so don't worry about that. Just include your URLs, and that'll be fine. Kurt Cobain would be a good one, as long as you could find information about him online. Alrighty, let's move on to the next aspect. So we're going to have you create, for part two, um, a summary, essentially a summary of your role in terms of creating a digital footprint for your professional life. And we'd like you to answer what you've learned in this week's activities, including this exercise, and determine the steps that you'd like to take to manage your own digital footprint to create an image that will best represent you positively online, professionally, and personally. And we also want you to kind of describe this digital footprint or online brand that you wish to portray and list the steps that you'll take to achieve this goal. And this can be in bullet form, or you can just number the steps that you want to take. So we've got a couple of questions here. So Clint is asking, maybe we should not pick someone who is so famous or well known. It's hard to give an example of. Yeah, that is actually a concern that of like who wouldn't want to work with Steven Spielberg. So it might be helpful to kind of tailor who you pick based on some of the questions that you might have to answer here. And Leah is asking, when we give our finding about the individuals, do we discount their status and consider them just as an average person? Yeah, Aaliyah, that's actually a good way to kind of do it. Like, if this person was an average person, discounting what they're capable of based on their digital footprint, would they be a good business partner? That's a great way to kind of look at it from an objective, neutral standpoint. All right, so for your submission, you can submit this using the format of your choice to present your findings and conclusions, as long as you explain fully and clearly and include visual examples to illustrate your points. So your submission may be in the form of a written document that includes visual images, a slideshow presentation if you want to use PowerPoint, an audio-visual podcast if you want to make a movie, or a video. So if you want to suggest a different format, contact your instructor to ensure it will be acceptable. Now, we want you to include references to cite the sources of your information that you've used, and that's going to include any links to YouTube videos, links to Twitter pages, links to Facebook pages, or links to pages that you find on the web. Now, we also want you to include some extra information. Now, this is really important. We want your first and last name so we know who created the assignment, so that's going to be in there. And we also want you to include your name and student number in your assignment as well. And then you're going to compress and upload your file, or you're going to include an accessible, non-private link on the LMS when you submit this. And label your file last name, first name, assignment name. So let's go over that one more time. So when you go to submit this, double check that you have your first and last name in your file, you've got your student number in your file, and that you compress your document into a zip file. Yes, Sean, compress. And if you're unfamiliar with how to do that, there is a resource under the Getting Started tab, and that's going to be class resources. So click class resources. I'm going to go ahead and show you where that is. That's going to give you information on how to compress your files, and that's going to be right here. I'm going to go ahead and preview that for you. There you go. Whoops, that's the wrong one. Right here, class resources. Usually you can click insert and compress if you're using a Mac, but sometimes it does change depending on the platform that you're on. So no, Moses, you don't want to send this as a PDF. You do want to compress. So if you need to learn how to take a screenshot, so for your investigation, if you're taking screenshots, there's information on how to do that here. And when you're ready to submit, there's also information here on a compress a file, whether you're on a Mac or PC. And that's going to be under the class resources activity under the Getting Started tab. Okay, guys, we are almost done for the evening.
Hey, I'm taking my class. Shit. I need to get out the way.
So as you're working on your investigation, make sure that you consult the rubric here to make sure that everything falls in the exceptional column. So as you're working, you have a concern about your research or concern about your digital footprint description, make sure that you consult us to see that we're falling in the exceptional area.
How much?
If I'm recording video from a phone, this is a question from Clint.
Last week?
Will I just be graded on the material, not the quality of the video, or both? So, Clint, the quality of the video is not going to be as important as the content. I'd like you to just focus on the content of the recording and not necessarily the quality, as long as I can make out what you're saying and see you. That's fine. Does that answer your question?
When I did my thing? I don't know.
Is there someone speaking on the line here? I'm not sure who it is. I don't see an active microphone on my page. So what I'm going to do is just mute everyone, if I can. There we go. Let's just mute everyone and then unmute myself. All right, can you guys hear me? I apologize about that. Sometimes when people sign into the training, their microphone is active and they don't know how to turn it off, and that's just an issue. I do apologize for that, guys. Okay, now we're clear. All right, so of course, we want you to consult the rubric as you guys are working, so make sure that everything falls in the exceptional column here, and you're going to be good to go. So you do have the rest of the week to work on this, and if you have any questions, or if you want us to take a look at your assignment in progress to kind of just see where you're at and give you maybe some tips on where to improve, we can do that too. So just a couple of questions before we close out. We are running up right to the very end here. What software can I use to create this assignment? You can use any software of your choice as long as it's something that can be read by the LMS. So think about Microsoft Word, PowerPoint. If you want to provide a video link from YouTube, if you're going to upload a video, you can do that too. Yes, Moses, this is going to be due on Sunday. Moses, if you're using Pages from Mac, I can open that, so that's going to work. That's not a problem. Is your presentation graded for creativity? No. While we encourage creativity, it's not a factor in your grade. There's a section in the rubric that judges the quality of your presentation. We're looking for clarity and organization. So what do you upload? You're going to be uploading a compressed file that contains your student name, your student number, and if you have a URL to your web content, that's going to be a public URL, but otherwise it's going to contain everything else. Your digital footprint investigation of your industry professional, your summary about your digital footprint, name, student number, and then that's going to be in a compressed document. Yes, you can drag and drop when you've got your compressed document ready to go. You can drag and drop that into the site, and that will be your submission. And where do you find your research? We suggest using the Los Angeles Film School Library databases. If you have any questions about how to use those, you can email us. We have some resources for that. And if you just want to use Google, that's available too, and that's where you can also get your URLs. Absolutely. So if you don't want to get too creative with this assignment and you want to kind of just do the facts and just turn in your work and have it be just a document, that's completely fine. And at the end of this document, the assignment 1.4 document, there is a number of resources here that are available to you. So if you have any questions about finding industry professionals or where industry professionals, like there might be a list or a database, these links will provide that information for you. Okay, that is all of the information that I have pertaining to the assignment. Are there any final questions? We just hit our time. Our time is undone for the night. So if you have any questions, we're going to hang back and answer those for you. But otherwise, you guys are free to go. Thank you for being here for the first session, and I will see you next week. And Clint, I see your question. I'm going to answer that just in a few moments here. Okay, Clint, just to answer your question, I would just stay in contact with your student advisor and just keep a line of communication open with them. And as your situation develops, if anything changes, just let them know, and they'll be there to support you. And if anything changes on your end, they'll let me know as well if you're not able to inform me. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you for being here.